Good evening. I'm John Bailey. This is People to be Heard, the program where people who have something to say have their say. And tonight you've got Joe Stout, Executive Director of the Westchester Parks Foundation, that is sponsoring Pitch In for Parks at parks all over Westchester County coming up this Sunday, April 28th.
That's right.
Right. Mr. Stout, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Exactly. Mr. Stout was Westchester Commissioner of the Westchester County Department of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation before he retired in 2010 and became Executive Director of Westchester Parks Foundation. And so he is here to find out, for us to find out what parks will be targeted this year on Pitch In for Parks.
Well, Pitch In for Parks is probably 30 years now. We're close to it. It's a once a year volunteer effort to get folks to come out and help us pitch in to help get the parks ready for spring. And it's literally all over the county. This year, the foundation board and staff will actually be at Playland for the first time in a few years. But there's a bunch of groups at Saxon Woods Park, at Tibbetts Brook Park, in Yonkers, all along the Bronx River Reservation, Croton Point Park, Glen Island Park. All of the big regional parks will have, Kensico Dam Plaza, will have a lot of folks out starting at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right. And do you still need volunteers?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We'll take them. We'd like you to pre-register if you can, and you can find that information out at www.thewpf.org.
Right there.
Right there.
Exactly.
Or you can call at 914-231-4600 and follow the prompts to our volunteer coordinator. We'd like you to pre-register so we kind of have an idea. We'd rather not have hundreds of people at one place and nobody at someplace else. But
can you pick
at the last minute and you want to go?
Yes.
We'll take you.
Can you
yes,
pick
you can
your
pick
park?
where you want to go. Yeah.
Okay, you can pick. How do you balance it all out, or do you never?
That's what Erin, our volunteer coordinator, does. No, we have places where there are too many that go because it becomes a problem for the staff to kind of have enough work for everybody to do at certain parks. It's not just cleanup. Sometimes it's painting. Sometimes it's mulching, and it's a tool thing, and it's a supply thing. So if you really want to do something in the park that you wanted to go to is taken, you can still leave your name because we do volunteer stuff all through the year.
Oh, I see. So how do they figure out what needs to be done with each park? Do you take a survey of it around this time?
Yes. So the volunteer coordinator or our staff will meet with the park managers at each of these locations, and basically say what is it that we can do to help you get ready for the spring, and whether it's planting or it's mulching or it's we literally have folks that'll put on hip waders and walk the Bronx River and pull garbage out of the Bronx River itself. They'll do fence repair, raking, invasive vine removals, litter pickup, whatever you can think of that you would do at your yard.
So you have to have.
We help them do in parks.
I see. So you have actual horticulturalists to take a look at the park, right?
The Parks Department does.
I see.
And they give us a kind of a list of what they'd like us to help with.
Yes, and this saves the county a great deal of money, does it not?
Yeah, what happens is that we get the things that they don't ever get the time to get to. Because it's just, what is it, a saying, it's not coming to me, the harvest is many but the hands are few. There's just a ton of work that needs to be done all the time, and there's always an influx, whether it's windstorms or it's people that throw garbage on the streets that wind up in storm drains that wind up in parks. So that they'll never have enough hands to do that stuff. So it does save money. There's a value to volunteer work. But it's not like that we replace staff. They could have 100 more people working for the Parks Department and they still wouldn't have enough. There's 18,000 acres in the county park system.
You mentioned the L word, litter. Is this a big problem in the parks?
Yeah.
More so than in the past?
I don't want to say it's more so. It depends on the park.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of parks have people that are regular users that kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that they're clean. Some places that the Bronx River itself, the Bronx River Reservation, it literally goes from Yonkers up to Kensico Dam Plaza down here.
Right.
Right. There's lots of storm drains that flow into it from all the municipalities along it, and things that people, when you know, get blown into parking lots and strip malls and off of streets, wind up in the storm drains, wind up in the river, on the park, and then on the banks of the river and on the trailway. That gets a lot of litter.
Oh. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the biggest cleanup problem every year.
The biggest cleanup problem every year is probably the winter leaves and branches and raking, you know, flower beds, those kinds of things that get covered with natural materials and need to be cleaned out.
Yeah. How did Pitch in the Parks get started? I mean, the foundations was started in 1977, and
Yeah.
then where did this great idea come from?
It actually generated with the Parks Department, and the commissioner at the time wanted to try to get this volunteer effort to get people engaged in the park system by volunteering. So it started, I want to say 1995. Maybe 96, but somewhere in that neighborhood, where it was literally the Parks Department went out and asked people to come and volunteer. The managers at each park would go to their park users, and as things evolved, it became a program of the Parks Foundation.
It was a community
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, how
And
should
actually, it's been copied in a whole bunch of places. The state now does I Love My Park Day. New York City does a whole bunch of different things, but you know, we were one of the first ones in Westchester to do that.
Westchester once again leading the way before its time.
Right.
And how should volunteers dress?
You should wear work clothes. You know, we give you depending on what you're doing, we give you gloves and eye protection and planting and tools and things that you would need. But you should wear jeans. You should wear, you know, a sweatshirt or an old. Don't come dressed like you. Come more dressed like me.
Yeah. Now, but should they wear long pants?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Should wear long
Is there
pants.
any sprays they can put on?
You know, if it depends on the day,
I see.
and obviously depends on what you're doing. But if it's sunny, you know, obviously sunblock is always important. And if you're going to be in the woods, then you might want to think about tick repellent. Even though it's early in the season, there are ticks out.
Now, Joe, another big thing that is coming up are the bicycle days. This year will be the 45th annual Bicycle Sunday season. Has it grown in participants each year?
It's probably grown in people that know about it. There's about 5,000 people, depending on the weather, but there's probably about 5,000 people that come every Sunday, and that's been a pretty steady number over the past 4 or 5 years that come. It's a really cool program. Again, that's another one that was really started here in Westchester.
I have done that a few times,
Yeah.
and it is always intriguing. It is a completely different experience biking down
the parkway
pastoral highway.
than driving. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, and they're bikers, joggers, walkers. Can they expect any special events this year?
Our sponsors, Con Edison and New York Presbyterian, do appreciation days each year. So they have a little entertainment. They have some giveaways. They have information. There's ice cream and stuff for kids. Those dates are usually in September, although I think one of them is in June this year. The Westchester Bicycle Club does a bicycle safety day every year. Westchester Cycling Club. They do a safety day. They teach kids how to ride. They give away bells and things on how to bike safely on roadways.
Any thought to expanding the length of the bicycle days in the future?
The number of days or the
No, the distance.
the
in
distance?
highway.
No, to be honest with you, there's really there's no other turnarounds that make sense safely. Especially when you go south, you're
Oh.
down by Bronxville. There's really no place to turn around, and going up to Fisher Lane creates more of a going north to Fisher Lane creates more of a traffic issue. So yeah, it's if you do the whole thing, it's 13 miles.
Which is quite a distance.
Distance, right?
Yes.
And there are avid cyclists who do it several times. You know, I have a hard time doing it once.
Well,
So-
at least you
Way.
do it. I mean, that's good. It's nice to see our leaders participate. in
well,
the
now
action.
I walk. I don't ride the bike anymore. Now I
Yes.
walk.
Will County Executive Latimer bike?
He'll be there on opening day. I don't know that I've ever seen the county executive on a bike, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't. He certainly is an avid supporter of parks, and he may be out there walking with us a couple of times during the year.
Well, that would be interesting. You could build a promotion around that.
Maybe.
Now, I would like to delve into more on the parks in the county
Sure.
in general. What are the issues involving the 50 parks in Westchester that the foundation, the Westchester Parks Foundation, is concerned about for the future?
Well, we operate under a couple of philosophies and beliefs. I mean, the reason we exist is to make sure that the county parks are as open and safe and available as they possibly could be for all of us, because we believe that everybody's entitled to a safe, clean, affordable park. You know, we believe that the parks are open for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or you're homeless, or black, white, male, female, whatever ethnicity, whatever gender. Parks are really what brings people together here, and the investments that the county needs to make. So we're concerned about the capital projects that the county needs to invest in keeping those facilities obviously open and available to the residents of the county. Currently, there's a $400 million backlog of approved capital projects.
Wow,
For-
that's actually news. It's amazing.
And that does not include Playland Park, which has its own $100 million worth of projects that need to be done. And we're talking about, the non-sexy things that need to be done, like, boilers and roofs and storm drains and electrical systems. It's not, new pools or new golf courses or new, new recreation amenities. It's really infrastructure things that need to be taken care of. So our priority as the foundation has been trying to work with the administration and the Board of Legislators to accelerate the projects that they all want to get done, but seeing how we can help them get those done.
400 million is a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
It really is. And you mentioned that Playland was going to, it needs about 100 million in commitment, or is it?
It's in that neighborhood, yeah.
Really? That's even more than I thought. As you know, we journalists peg these things, and sometimes we peg low.
Oh, right.
Yes.
The county park system is akin to some small state park systems. There's 18,000 acres of just county-owned parks within Westchester. There's 50 parks. There's, you run the gamut from Playland, the county center, to a farm and to big natural areas, and there's just lots of stuff.
Very diverse in the kinds of parks they are, and in fact, is this the most parks of any county? How does it compare?
In New York, it's probably one of the highest number of parks for a county system. I think Nassau County probably has more. New York City has certainly more parks, but smaller in size than most of ours. But it's a big county. It's a big county system.
Yeah.
It just is.
Now, how can the public help with this?
Talk to your county legislators. When the county executive has been really aggressive in going out and speaking to constituents. He meets once or twice a month with a specific legislator. They go out and have coffee in a diner or a community center, just to kind of get feedback from the public. That's certainly a good place to say, hey, what's going on with parks? Because if you talk to most people in the county, they like their parks. They like to use their parks. They like to make sure that their parks are clean. Parks are one of the few things that most of us don't mind paying taxes for. When you think about it, you really don't want to go to jail. You don't want to be on welfare. You don't want the fire department to come to your house.
No.
The county park system is used by 3/4 of the people in the county. No other service that the county provides hits that many people.
So there'll be about 750,000
people.
people a year
Yep.
go to the parks.
Just the residents.
Just the residents.
There's probably 3 million people a year that use
And
county
they
parks
can
that
pay
come.
a non-resident
At
price.
certain places, yeah.
Yes. Are there wildlife issues that the county needs to deal with?
Yeah, absolutely. There's the deer. County does an excellent deer management program. It's so good that you don't even know about it, and that's a good thing.
No, it's the neutering.
No,
not the neutering.
They do a deer removal program.
Deer removal.
Yeah, because the deer
They deport them.
over kind
Yes.
of they're overpopulated.
I see.
And they cause ecological damage and safety hazards. So deer management is one. We're also seeing, we sponsored a meso carnivore, which are smaller, like bobcats and lynx and
Coyotes.
coyote study up in the northern part of the county with the Parks Department staff, of trying to see the impacts that they're now having, because they're more prevalent now. I live in Harrison, and I had my dog out one night, and he stood still. I couldn't get him to move, and he was like, his ears were up, and the next thing I knew, there was a coyote that just walked right down the street in front of our house. I live downtown in Harrison. It's not like I live in the country somewhere. So there's wildlife issues, and they obviously live in our
I've
parks.
seen that in my planes.
Thanks,
A
right.
coyote walking right down the
Right
street,
down the street.
usually at dawn.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the deer are being moved upstate?
No, they actually, it's a deer hunting program.
I see.
Right.
Okay. And how about the golf courses? Are they as popular as they used to be?
Yes, they are as popular as they used to be. The issue is that there are less golfers than there used to be. Golf is a tough business. The county's done a tremendous job of keeping their golf courses in very good condition. Right now, Maplemore is undergoing a multi-million-dollar renovation. I don't know if you've driven by it lately.
I live right by it.
Well,
yes.
if you go take a look at it, you'll see it's closed right now. It's under construction.
Yes.
But when it comes back, it'll be spectacular. The golfers are very avid and very passionate about their county golf courses, and it's a great value if you're a golfer. And the courses are really in great shape.
They are certainly great values. I mean, you can play on those courses for reasonable rates.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, so the courses you feel are just going to continue. In other words, they're used enough, make enough money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at the county parks budget, just for argument's sake, the average tax, the tax support for county parks is about 3% of your county tax bill. So it's in the neighborhood of about $35 a year per resident. That's what people pay for having this county park system available for them. That's 10 cents a day, somewhere in that neighborhood, 11 cents a day.
It's always great
be
to
able to have
compare it to a cup of coffee.
Yeah, well, it's much less than a cup. It's much less than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, these days.
For what you have. So anybody could pick and say, well, why do we pay for this program, or why do we pay for that service? But at the end of the day, you're really paying the average resident pays about $35 a year for the availability of all the parks. And again, 3/4 of the people in the county use a county park every year. annually. That doesn't include all the people that work here and visit here or come here for special events from a tourist standpoint.
Now, what are the most popular activities in the parks? Cookouts, picnics, swimming?
Walking,
Walking.
by far, walking. Trails and pathways are by far, not even close, the most favorite activity to use in the park. Whether you go to Kensko on a day when there's nothing planned and you can't find a parking spot because people are out walking,
Yes.
riding their bikes,
I used to
exercising.
rollerblade there.
Rollerblade,
My son.
right.
Yeah.
So you know, that by far, that is the most used activity, most wanted facilities. Can use more of walking pathways and trails, both for people's health and for.
A lot of them are paved, right?
Probably, yeah, no, there's a lot that are paved.
A lot that are paved. How have the parks changed since you started in the recreation and parks business?
Oh, my.
Is that
That's a
a
long time.
gargantuan question?
Yeah, that's a long time. You know, I think what's changed is people seeing the value of citizens being engaged in their parks. You know, I like to talk about what Central Park used to look like. I mean, you know, we can remember when people were afraid to walk into Central Park. Or
Yes, I
Bryant
can
Park,
remember
right?
that.
Where it was literally dangerous to go do that. And that's because people really didn't give a hoot about what happened in the park. But now you see the transformation about what happens when people stay engaged in their park system and see the value of it. And I really think that's what's changed over my 40 years of being in this business, is that citizens now don't just take it for granted, right? And our job is to get folks like you and your viewers to say, wow, I never really thought about the fact that if I don't pay attention, my park could look like what Central Park used to look like. And you know, kind of that's why we're here, and that's what we do.
Well, it certainly shows with the amount of people going to the parks.
Absolutely.
That's considerably, that's about almost a third of Major League Baseball attendance in here.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And what is the cost of attending Westchester Parks?
Depends on what you do. I mean, obviously there's a fee to play golf. There's some fees to pay to get in to go swimming, parking your car at certain times of the year. Lots of places they're free, right? You know, the county does a great program every year at on July 3rd at Kensko Dam, the Music Fest. It's fireworks and music. It's totally free. You can walk in almost all the pathways on the Bronx River Pathway and the North, South, and South County Trailways. It doesn't cost you a nickel. So you know, it's $35 a year to have all these parks here. That's what it costs the average resident.
Quite an advantage, particularly for parents of young children.
You know what?
It's a good thing to do with them.
It's a good thing to do with kids. It's great for senior citizens. It's you know, it's middle aged. Parks are for everybody. You know, and that's one of the great things about a well-maintained park system where people feel safe and it's used. It's really for everybody. And you know, your park story is different than mine. What you like to do is different than what somebody else might like to do. It could be just socializing, right? Because people who live in apartments don't have a place to go. Or they're lonely, or they can meet their friend and sit on a park bench and watch the kids go by, or they watch birds, or they like to run, or they like to swim, or they like to play golf, and on and on and on. And it's really, you know, an intrinsic part of what makes Westchester County special.
Yeah. Now we want to talk about a little bit about the Westchester Parks Foundation, and how does the Parks Foundation function? Does it solicit contributions from sponsors for specific projects?
Yes, all of the above. We'll take your money, we'll take your sweat equity, we'll take your advocacy for our park system. You know, obviously we are not for profit. We have to make the money that we make to do the stuff that we do. We have an outstanding volunteer program throughout the year that almost 2,000 volunteers last year, about 7,000 hours of work was donated.
Yes, and then you have Camp Morty.
We do camp, which is a sleepaway camp for for kids that are wards of the county. They are either in homeless shelters or in child protective services or in foster care services. We have about 500 kids this summer. That's done up at way up here, all the way up at the top in North Salem at Mountain Lakes Camp. And it's a great experience for those kids. They come from really tough environments, some of these kids.
There's something called Adopt a Park.
That's another thing that corporations or community groups can get involved with, where you basically say, we'll come and help you with this park. You donate some money, you donate some time and effort to help clean up a specific park. And then we recognize your company or community group as the sponsor for those parks.
What projects has the foundation financed recently that the county could not do?
Well, we are the sponsor of a lot of their big programs. I mentioned the Music Fest on July 3rd, the Bike Sunday, which was cut out of the budget several years ago, and both the foundation and our partners stepped up to save that program. We are the sponsor of and funding source for Westchester's Winter Wonderland. And then we buy equipment that they need. I mentioned we funded that ecological study for the meso carnivores up in the northern part of the county. Typically we'll get a request from the Parks Department for a thing or some equipment or a project that that we'll try to fundraise for.
And you'll go through your donor list.
Yeah, right now we're looking for donors to help us with a invasive removal of water chestnuts. It's an invasive in Tibbetsbrook Lake, in Tibbetsbrook Park in Yonkers, where in the summertime it doesn't look like a lake. It literally looks like a tobacco field, and we get volunteers to go in kayaks and boats and actually pull it up by hand. We're looking for a sponsor to help us to get a harvester to get that out.
Yeah. Now the county comes to the foundation when they have an idea how you could help.
Oh sure, we have we have one donee, right? We're a foundation where we give away funds, and we have one grantee, and that's the county park system. So we're a partner with the county park system where they'll basically say to us, we can't do anything on a county park unless they say it's okay, and they come to us and say, we'd like you to help with this, and that's kind of like the way it works.
And how does one become a member?
Well,
what do you get for that?
We don't do members. We do donors. And,
donors.
And
okay.
We're looking for folks that are really interested in preserving and helping advocate for this great jewel that we have, that we were handed by the people who came before us, right? And I think we all have a responsibility to make this place a little bit better than we found it. And so you can make your donations right here again, or you can call us. And what you get from that is you get the self-satisfaction of knowing that you help contribute to keeping really one of Westchester's best assets in as good a condition as it can be.
Now, if you want to participate in pitching for parks, tell them the number and call how they can get ready for this weekend.
Call 914-231-4600. Ask for Erin, and sign up. There'll be hopefully there'll be 1,000 of us out there on the 28th. Some groups can't do it exactly on the 28th, so they do the 27th or they do the 26th. But we'll all be out there with our gloves on, picking up junk, cleaning up, sprucing up, and getting ready for a great season.
Getting ready for a great summer. Well, Joe Stout, Executive Director of Westchester Parks Foundation, you have been heard. And as Mayor Joe Delfino used to say, thank you for all you do.